it hit me a few minutes before I went to, before I sat down to start this video, that this would be the last, publication, um, at least for a little while, as a history student. So this would be a tough one. I guess, you're always a student of history, so there's definitely that to look forward to. But yeah, so it just, it definitely means a lot, and I'm super happy to be able to put this in. This is a topic that I guess waited a couple of years to really touch on, that the Napoleonic Wars, and anything really to do with that kind of realm, whether it's political, economic, of course military. That stuff has interested me. I guess it's for a long time. It's a rather broad and macro subject, but I guess if I were to get into the niche aspect of it, it would be anything to do with Russia in that era, particularly anything surrounding Tsar Alexander I. I've had a broad interest in that area for quite a while. Time constraints being what they were, my ideas had flowed from first that I was so ready to tackle it, and then just sort of on my plate, that also it went down to, I found out about Joseph Bonaparte and his ties to New Jersey through further reading about about Lafayette, actually, which is interesting. That's definitely something to recommend, by Mike Duncan. I probably have the book right here. I think it's The Hero of Two Worlds. I listened to it first on a podcast, or not a podcast. I did an audiobook, and then I bought my hardcover copy. Support him. It was a wonderful book, and it was just one line. It was just, he mentioned how Lafayette had come to New Jersey and had visited Joseph Bonaparte, and I go, that Joseph Bonaparte? What is he doing in New Jersey? And so that took me down, certainly a very fun rabbit hole, and I had quite an enjoyable time with that. And sort of, again, time constraints being what they were, we went with, a Napoleon and Joseph aspect of things, because it's definitely a lot easier to research, but hopefully the avenue is open in the future, and I'll definitely talk to you, Dr. Keen, about that, for some kind of passion project in the future. I'm definitely not writing that off, but I'm this is just as important, and it's of such a magnitude, of course, because you've included the duality of the brothers, and so it's so intense, and I'm so excited for it. So first I want to address the elephant in the room, of course. I'll get 3 minutes into this, but the suit, my little brother got it for me, I guess maybe as a gag gift or something, from either Goodwill or local thrift store, for Christmas. It came with complimentary napkins in the pocket, so that was nice. Convenient. But I wanted to wear it today, as this is a bit of a special occasion for me, because I'm very proud of all that he's doing in school, both academically and sport-wise, and so this is a little tidbit to you, Michael, a tad to you, so if you're watching this by any off chance, I'm very proud, and keep up the good stuff. And I quite like it, first of all. I think it's funky fresh. Let's get into it. So we're gonna have, I guess I'm technologically inept somehow. I was having quite a hard time adding a proper intro to this video. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna play it on here, and we're gonna jam out to it.
A leader is a dealer in hope.
So that it took me a second. The sound bites from that, I'll put those. I'll make sure the hyperlinks are in the description. It's from a few of Napoleon's quotes read aloud. I'm not sure who the voice actor is. I'm sure it's in that hyperlink. As well as a scene from Waterloo where Napoleon commits the Old Guard. So it's kind of, and of course it's supposed to be from the Battle of Waterloo. It's where I guess committing the Old Guard is truly throwing all your chips in. So now that we're in the mindset, we're ready. Without further ado, The Elder Bonaparte by Edward R. Macnicki. A paper submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements for HST 369 in the Department of History, Geography, and Political Science at Georgian Court University, supervised by Dr. Jessica Keene, 24 January 2022. Few historical figures command the mountaintop, standing as unwavering behemoths of history. Even fewer elicit immense ire, adoration, and unyielding awe. Still, fewer among those who fit such mighty criteria are subject to the meticulous scholarship and evaluation of their ambitions. Even fewer knew what it was like to be a soldier king, a single man who struck fear into an entire continent. Indeed, only one man knew what it was like to be called Napoleon. Historians have been researching, hypothesizing, and scouring his exploits for centuries. Even today, Napoleon remains a tantalizing figure, smothered in the polarizing adoration and scorn of all who pronounce his name. Yet, for such a prominent figure of controversy, his familial ties and influences have been underappreciated and subject to revisionist interpretation. It is often mentioned that Napoleon was destined for leadership, battle, and glory. When things got tough, though, it was instead Napoleon's elder brother, Joseph, who both Napoleon and the family depended on to pull them through. A level-headed, personable, driven, and charismatic figure, Joseph would often become the soothing contradiction to Napoleon's irate demeanor. The question then naturally becomes, how did these two work together to achieve so much, and why was Joseph so trusted? This paper argues that Joseph and Napoleon worked in tandem by playing to their military and political strengths, respectively. Historical background: the young brothers. And I had looked up French pronunciations earlier, and they have long since eluded me. So we're going to. There is a bit. So just a forewarning. For one word, I will inevitably butcher. So continuing, historical background: the young brothers. In order to best understand Joseph, it is important to establish some background. Born in a small Corsican town, Giuseppe Bonaparte, later translated to Joseph, or as Joseph, would seem to have been born with a kiss from God. At the very least, that's what his mother had been sure of. It became an affront to cause harm to him. He was a naturally gifted child, respectful, kind, and patient. He willingly helped with chores, read, and respected his elders. The culmination of these characteristics caused Talleyrand, a highly influential figure in French politics, throughout both, the Revolution and onward, and a highly influential figure, earlier than that as well, a highly influential figure in French politics to say of Joseph that he was born to be loved. From an early age, he was appreciative of the Corsican independence movement and drew inspiration from the philosophies of old. Indeed, it would be the self-efficacy and moral influence of philosophy that Joseph would use to often work behind the scenes to alleviate tensions, enact reform, and bolster the humanities. He was actually, Joseph was a huge patron of the arts. He would often have, elongated conversations with artisans and painters, poets, all those sort of things. There is something to touch on, actually, that we can get on later. which is rather interesting as well. But I don't want to give too much away too fast. So yeah, so he uses his philosophy, he uses the influence of philosophy rather, from reading and whatnot that to as I say, alleviate tension, enact reform, and bolster the humanities. So it was these actions that would earn him the reputation as the gentle Bonaparte to historians. Napoleon was different than Joseph. Indeed, Napoleon seemed to emanate the characteristics which Joseph lacked. He was exhaustingly physical, at times belligerently so, and enjoyed challenging his elder brother for dominance. He would go so far as to affectionately dub Joseph his souffre dobleur. That is the word. His whipping boy of sorts. I believe the English translation is something of a pain sufferer. So they would get in these exhaustive fights. Napoleon, inevitably instigating Joseph, and Joseph, being the older brother, would just kind of, come on, stop it, put the hand to him. It would kind of, I guess, escalate from there, of course. And Napoleon loved it. So, despite the ominous nickname, though, the altercations most often carried from a loving place. Or they must often carried a loving place with them, loving place. So, indeed, Joseph's endurance of them evidences this greatly, of course, right? Think about it. If you are the older and much bigger brother, or even if you're not much bigger, you can still kind of put a stop to that, and you can go right back at him. You can just elevate that fear. But Joseph really didn't have that in him. He loved Napoleon. He never wanted to hurt him. And he was, while he was loved and the quiet type and so respectful and a great kid, he just did not have that fire, which Napoleon, of course, emanated. So the two brothers were nearly inseparable. While Joseph attended Autun, a prestigious school for potential scholars and government personnel, Napoleon would elect to go another route. He would attend Brienne instead, a military school which could propose a less prestigious but action-filled life as a soldier. So they're boys, right? I think Napoleon was around 10 when he started to learn French. Of course, they're born in Corsica. They have the native tongue and they know Italian quite well. Neither of them knew French. And indeed, Napoleon actually didn't, he never really spelled correctly. And he always spoke with a noticeable Corsican accent when he was speaking French. So the two boys, of course, they went from Corsica abroad to go and learn and attend that school, and Napoleon did end up choosing another. He chose another route, and that was at the time not really, of course, thought upon as prestigious. If anyone the family had pinned their hopes on, it had been Joseph. They had hoped that Joseph would be able to support them financially, and be able to be there for them, make something of himself. They thought Napoleon would, he'd go into the military, have a decent career. But of course, nobody could have really predicted, especially at the time, the things that would kind of ensue. So again, less prestigious but action-filled life as a soldier. The difference in venture would mark the first time the two